time for another episode of Old Roommates. This week on the show, we revisit planes, trains, and automobiles. So pack your bags and settle down for another fun episode.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. This is Brian.
And this is Christina.
And we are talking about planes, trains, and automobiles from 1987. Really quick, the reason why I paused, I thought if you do the intro, you pick up when the music dies down. No?
Wow.
I don't remember.
Well, it's only been upwards of 100 episodes or something.
God.
Well, we have 60-something. Oh, no, because Basic Instinct was episode number 69. So
we didn't plan that, by the way.
No,
okay.
we did not.
19...
Before we begin,
sure.
we are...
Social distancing.
Social distancing. Yes, we are still in the midst of this pandemic. We are still being responsible. We are at Brian's house. 260... No!
Don't give me... No. And actually, that's going to be changing soon because we're moving into the other unit. But the... what was I going to say? The room, we keep... It's funny, Christina has mentioned this, that we keep just filling the room up with more and more stuff in the hope of it providing a sound barrier or a muffling or a sound absorption situation here.
Yes, we're doing our best to recreate the wonderful studio we used to record at What Cheer.
What Cheer, if you're listening, I have a million thoughts on how they can make this happen.
Yeah,
let's just you buy your own microphone covers, right?
Sure.
You bring them in when you go.
Yeah.
You wipe everything down before and after. You already have those giant screens. Maybe you have to buy your own screen and just screw them in when you come and go. You wear gloves. But we miss What Cheer.
We
really do.
And hopefully our pillows and blankets along the doors and walls will help recreate that experience for our listeners.
As always, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it. So planes, trains, and automobiles, 1987. Christina, what was going on in your world? And when the first time you saw it?
I was in college. In 1987.
Nice.
So, I don't remember when I first saw it, as usual. I mean, I'm sorry, guys. This is a revisit. This is a middle-aged lens. My memory is only so good. So, I don't remember when I saw it. I'm quite certain it was a video. I don't think it was in the theaters. Okay. But I'm a huge fan of Steve Martin. So, it was a movie I enjoyed. I didn't remember too much about it, to be honest. Like, I remember the premise of it, of course. I remember those key scenes of the, sleeping together and things like that.
Which is, I think, in the trailer. Not to interrupt you,
yes,
but
I believe it is. Yes, I believe it is.
Yeah.
So I remembered some of it. I remember the idea of it. And I remembered how sweet the ending was. I liked the movie. I did. I liked the movie. I think others liked it more than me. I don't remember seeing it more than once. If I did see it more than once, it was probably because someone else was watching it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't something that I sought out to watch again. But I liked it. Because of the actors, I liked it.
Yeah. Very, very similar. You mentioned the ending. 1987, I was 15. And it's funny, I do remember seeing this in a movie theater. And it is rated R. I don't know how I pulled that off. But I'm fairly certain I saw this in a movie theater. And I really did like it a lot. But that ending is... I remember being very surprised that what you find out when you find out, and that the whole thing sort of changes. And then from there, I remember buying the VHS tape when it came out, and I did watch it all. I remembered, I guess jumping into now, I remembered a lot. There's only one thing, truly, like one. I couldn't have gone through it chronologically. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
But I remember all the setups. I forgot two things. Kevin Bacon's cameo.
Oh my gosh, so many different cameos, but yes, that's hilarious, and we can talk about that.
Yeah, so we get to it. All that to say, I loved it then. At 15 years old, I loved this movie.
Awesome.
Yeah. So jumping into now.
When
did you watch it?
So, interestingly enough, I had watched it probably about a month ago because we had seen, after we watched Uncle Buck, Emily really enjoyed it, and we were thinking about other John Candy movies, and we decided to watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Yeah. And I know it's an R-rated movie, but it's only because of that one scene. It's just that one scene.
Yeah.
And so I said, that's fine. She can handle this. And so I had seen it about a month ago, but then when we decided to revisit, I actually watched it again.
Okay.
Because I when I'm revisiting it for the podcast, I look at it through different eyes.
I know.
And I notice different things, and I obviously take notes now. Remember I used to not take notes?
I know.
And so speaking about this time around, I think I enjoyed it more, maybe. I don't know if I have like a negative view of it, and that's why I enjoyed it more this time around. One thing I didn't enjoy more...
Oh, Jesus. Keep going, girl.
I know, right? One thing I didn't enjoy more was Steve Martin's character. I thought
character or acting? Because
his acting didn't bother me that much.
All right.
His character bothered me. I didn't remember him being such an asshole. Like, I really felt like he was mean. And I understand that he was stressed. I understand, but even from the very beginning, and I get it, he's stressed, he wants to get home for the holidays. Yeah. But he was unusually mean to someone who is clearly kind-hearted and, yes, obnoxious and annoying. But Del, John Candy's character, is a kind man, and he's positive. So I just felt like, what's Steve? Oh, Neil. I felt like Neil was a little too mean to him. So, and that's what surprised me about this time around when I was watching it. I'm like, oh, I kind of remembered him as being a nicer person.
So.
Go on.
No, I mean, go on. I haven't even said anything yet. No. So right from the start, Steve Martin is trying. So basically, it starts with trying to get out of this meeting. This guy's taking forever to decide in this marketing campaign based on the model, and just looking at it from a million different angles, and he's still not sure. And then after all of that, and he's going to phrase Steve Martin's character Neil is afraid he's going to miss his flight. So the guy, but all that to say, the guy still wants the weekend to think it over. So now Neil begins the running through New York to get to the airport.
Yes.
Wait, is he in New York? No, Chicago. No. Yeah, he's in New York. He's going to Chicago. Yeah.
Right.
So, and then there's Kevin Bacon. They're fighting over the cab. Or they're racing to the cab. He trips over Dell's trunk, which you later find out is Dell's trunk. But I think my issue, when you mentioned the Steve Martin character, I wondered, because I struggled a little bit with Steve Martin again. So if you remember correctly, Christina had me watch The Jerk, and I'd never seen it before. It was Christina's choice. We do this sometimes. And I really had a lot of issues with The Jerk, mostly because of Steve Martin. It's his movie. It's his... He calls all the shots. And I think with Planes, Trains, Automobiles, I feel like... You said you didn't like the character. I think it was... I agree to an extent, but I think it was because of the way Steve Martin played the character.
Interesting.
There were a lot of scenes in this movie where all Steve Martin has to do is make facial expressions. And he looks so sour. And I know I often go back to the Queen of Comedy, who is Bea Arthur in my life. And how many, so many deadpan. She's the queen. Bea Arthur was the queen of deadpan looks. Beatrice Arthur from Maude and the Golden Girls. And I kept thinking, watching Planes, Trains, and Automobiles now, is that his facial expressions made him a worse character. And I kept thinking, like, if he played it more deadpan, instead of all, like, the facial contortions, and I'm so annoyed right now. And it's like, I don't know if people make those facial expressions in real life. Listen, I know it's a John Hughes comedy.
Right.
I know we're not going for realism. They're driving a car that is burning as they drive it. I realize this. They're driving the wrong way on a highway and they live. I mean, I know we're not dealing with reality. But in some ways, we are. We are dealing with canceled flights. We are dealing with a meeting that runs long. We're dealing with a sad family that may not see their dad at Christmas. So or Thanksgiving. They are dealing with these things. So, all that to say, I agree with you to the extent of I would actually fault some of Steve Martin's acting with making that character worse.
What's funny is when you're talking about him, I was expecting you to say things like, I didn't like him when he overreacted when he couldn't find the rental car. And he had that fit in the middle of the parking lot, right? Or when he was yelling at Dell.
Well, okay, really quick. My biggest issue, beyond the facial expressions, I liked that scene with when he.
So I did too.
I liked the scene when he couldn't get the rental car, and he freaked out and he was slamming things
around. But I could see me doing that.
Oh, 100%. At that point,
just throwing everything, slamming everything onto the ground.
What I didn't care for, and this is when I go after his mannerisms and his mugging, if you will. Mm-hmm. In the very beginning, when he's running after a cab and he's running with his bags. And
his running was weird.
Right? His fists were way up by his shoulders, and he's like, his malta is like spread so far back. And it's like, it
didn't seem like a natural run. I remember that.
That's right.
Yes,
it felt very strange. It's like, I know you're holding a couple of bags, but no one runs that way. It was weird.
I mean, if it was snowing out, that would be one thing, because then it would be like slippering a little bit or whatever. Just to touch on...
I know, we're jumping all over. This is shallow dives.
So, I have so many different thoughts right now.
Yeah.
First, to finish my thought about the Steve Martin stuff, I will say... I think I disagree with you on some of the... I mean, I don't remember every scene throughout, and there's a lot. I mean, this whole movie is just the two of them, so there's a lot of screen time for both of them. The facial expressions, though, especially... The scene that jumps out to me right now is when he is seated next to him in the plane, and you can just see he doesn't want to talk. And he's trying to be polite, and he's smiling, but he has that, like, I'm smiling, but only because I have to smile, and he's trying. I thought that was relatable. Like, I could see me doing that.
Yeah.
So, I can't think of other scenes, and maybe you can...
There are scenes that are super effective.
Yeah.
But, there are scenes where, I think it's the car seat keeps going back and forth. And he's getting more and more frustrated, but I think it's when you watch this movie, if you rewatch this movie, I think there's just some unnecessary mugging that I have seen it, like, I think being middle-aged now and going through delayed flights, canceled things, effed up car rental experiences, where I don't think my face would make these. I think it would have been much more relatable and grounding if there wasn't so much mugging. Sure. And I think that's the only thing.
I don't remember it, but... Okay. But I'm wondering if he struggles, because he is a physical comedy, a comedian. He's a physical comedian, so I'm wondering if he struggles with, at that point in time, some of that straighter...
Listen,
straighter acting.
This is what I said in the very beginning. It's the acting. I think, like, because he is a comedian, I think first and foremost, that some of that does trickle through in entertaining the crowd and, like, having to say a lot with a little. And I think that his take on this character was, like, he's so uptight that he's consistently bursting at the seams, and sometimes maybe that manifests into these bizarre facial expressions. I think a little of that goes a long way, and I think if that had been pulled back, it would have been a much more relatable movie.
And I didn't remember. I didn't notice it at all. Yeah. Anyway, but to get back to my other two thoughts, and then the 40 minutes will be over. So the Kevin Bacon, I did hear something kind of interesting because I'm like looking at him and I'm like, why is Kevin Bacon in here? Like this, he wasn't a nobody at that point. He had been in enough films that people knew him. Why is he in here? And so I did a little bit of research. And what's interesting is a lot of the fan theories, and some of it has been backed up, is that he is the character and she's having a baby.
But remember with the wife.
So this is, yes.
Yeah.
And so to get back to that, the wife was watching She's Having a Baby. Mm-hmm. And then in She's Having a Baby, there's a scene where he's watching Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So there's like that weird
oh my gosh, really?
Flop. Yeah, that's I read it. I mean, you can do some fact checking. I don't know, but
we should rewatch She's Having a Baby.
I do, yeah. So anyway, so I thought that was really interesting, and it was kind of fun that it's the fan theory is that it's his character, the character of whatever.
That makes perfect sense. I will say the only thing that's a bit bizarre is that She's Having a Baby came out after.
Right, and they mentioned that too.
Okay.
They do mention that too. So,
but yeah, I didn't remember the Kevin Bacon. I was like, oh my gosh, how weird.
It's very random.
And I actually said, oh my gosh, at the screen.
And Matt was walking through and he goes, is that Kevin Bacon?
And doing a couple little footloose moves.
Yes.
Too, yeah, during the run.
And we actually compared him to Cool Runnings, too, because he was the bike rider, doing the bike riding race. So there was a lot of different theories about why Kevin Bacon was in this movie. The other thing I just wanted to point out, did you watch to the very end, past the credits?
Yep.
So you saw... So for those of you who are listening, should we even tell them what it is?
No, we shouldn't tell them. Watch to
the very end. It's a great little end.
Stay for the credits.
Yeah, stay through the credits. Fast forward if you want to. But anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, what did we love? Was there a favorite sequence or favorite setup?
I did love the whole F-bomb scene. Yeah. That just makes me laugh so much. That woman, Edie McClurg from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, who's the third actor in that movie from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yep. Because the father's in the very beginning.
And Ben Stein is in it.
1, 2. Yeah. And is there someone else too, or no?
No, I said the third.
Oh, third. Okay, all right. Sorry.
It's 1, 2, 3. So she's perfect. She's so obnoxious on the phone. Like you can I related a lot with that Steve Martin character, with that frustration and just being like, really, this is who I'm dealing with right now. And I appreciated that he was not going to be nice. He was just so frustrated, and he just needed to let out all those F-bombs. I think there were 18.
Yeah.
18 F-bombs, and then that last line with her saying, do you have your receipt? I threw it away. Or, I fucking threw it away or something. And she just says, you're fucked. And it was like, perfect.
Does it say, oh dear? It's like, oh dear.
Yeah,
what?
Probably.
Like, you're fucked.
I loved it. I thought she was great. So, I love that scene. Of course, I love the ending. The ending, to me, made the whole movie. I don't think I would have liked it if it had not been that same ending, where you find so much out about Del. And just that scene when he walks in the house.
So weirdly, I'm getting goosebumps right now. So weirdly emotional and sad, and like, it's like this relief, but also like, you're happy because Del's not going to be alone for Thanksgiving.
Yes. And you kind of feel that they're going to keep this, relationship and friendship, and hopefully, I do have that hope for Del too, that he's going to move on with his life after this.
Yeah.
After this experience.
So really quick, and I loved how the parents were just so gracious. Like both sets of parents were like, "Oh, hello, Del." Like, and it was just so. It was a very nice moment. And then that song, "Every Time You Go Away," because it gives the wife like a little more, like that relationship, a little more like substance too.
Yeah, she didn't do much.
But the ending still worked.
Yeah.
Like, you still felt like... Well, it doesn't do much... She doesn't do much because she's used to this. Like, not again. Oh, Dad's late again. And, like, even the kids, when the phone rings, she's like, Dad's delayed. Like, they just knew. And I think that's a reality for a lot of families. And I think...
So, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Finish.
No, and so I think that's why she doesn't have much to do. But I still thought she was effective, and I think it gave the weight of the ending felt more because they just sort of cut to her at one point and she's been crying, And so you don't, you kind of fill in your own blanks because you think, oh, he's just not going to make it home in time. And then he walks through the door. And it's just a very nice moment for so many people in that room. In that vestibule.
Just that, 5-second scene. It's just wonderful. Matt had an interesting take, and it didn't even occur to me, and I don't necessarily agree with him. He felt that... So, how did he word it? He said now he knows that he wasn't having an affair. Now she knows. Now the wife knows that Steve Martin's character, Neil, was not having an affair and that he brought home, and that this guy was real. He said something to that effect. And I'm like, really? I didn't even think that, for a second, that she would have thought he was having an affair. Nothing indicated that to me.
Well, it's weird because... the wife and Del share a look, and it's kind of a longer look. The camera cuts to her, cuts to him, cuts back to her and him, and they have this and there's this sort of understanding, maybe to Matt's point. I guess we're including Matt in this. To Matt's point, I'll take it all on. No, but I think it's funny. I think there's maybe some truth that because she was the one who said, you're sharing a room with someone you just met? Is that even safe?
Right.
And, and that she has to just trust that her husband's going to be okay. And then in walks this guy who's, just all heart. Mm-hmm. And she felt better. I think you can see that she felt better knowing, maybe it wasn't necessarily so much an affair, but that, oh, I'm so glad that this night, that he wasn't alone for this whole nightmare.
Right.
And that, here's this guy now. And maybe it even... slightly changed her view of her husband to be that welcoming to a stranger.
Yes, I think there could be a lot talked about with that one glance.
Yeah,
that one glance. And
now I'm a monster because I have something to say about Del and Del's wife. So we find out. And I'm sure I hope this isn't a spoiler. You should only be listening to these episodes.
We say that every time. We should just
stop saying
the whole entire podcast.
The whole thing is a spoiler. Yeah, that's right. It's a spoiler podcast. So you find out that Del's wife has been dead, but Del's wife has been dead for 8 years.
8 years.
So back when I was young. That I was like, oh, and that's so sad. In your head, you sort of reconcile it pretty quickly. As a middle-aged man now, 8 years, I felt differently. I felt this is a deeper mental health issue.
Interesting.
Because we know more about mental health now and not being able to move on. I also wondered how she died. I kind of would have, in a weird way, I was curious to see how she died. And also, the photo of his wife, it seems like it's 80s. Is it an 80s hairstyle and an 80s look? And this would have made her passing away in either 1978 or 79.
Well, the movie's 87.
But it was, if you imagine it was made the year before.
Okay.
If this came out in winter of 87, you imagine maybe it being made, earlier that year or even the year before, whatever. So, then it's 1979. That picture doesn't look like I'm being very, very picky right now. I don't know if I would have looked at that picture like that is a picture from 1979. But I think
I didn't feel like it was very flattering either. I would have felt and maybe they did it on purpose, having it be like a portrait of her.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if God forbid Matt passed away, and I was carrying on a picture of him, it wouldn't be like some portrait for work or something. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be some stiff portrait. It would be a picture of us together.
Right, that's right.
Or it would be a picture of him having, just a candid.
Yeah.
So it seemed the picture choice was odd to me.
It's an odd, I agree with you. Because it's true. If you imagine, he's been traveling for 8 years since she passed away and selling shower curtain rings. Mm-hmm. And so, in a way, that chest he brings around is his desk, and like he always puts her picture up. But yeah, you're right. In an office environment or whatever, you'd have a picture of like you guys together.
Yeah, it would have been.
It is strange, but I felt bad. Like but it was a different kind of bad this time around.
I could
being
see that.
Older, like, and just understanding more about mental health and moving on and dealing with loss. That 8 years is a deeper sadness, a deeper thing. If he had said, my wife died 2 years ago and I haven't been back to my house since, and I just stayed busy with work. That, talk about relatable. Like, you can see people do that all the time. They sink themselves into their job. 8 years later, though, it just sounds different to me.
It definitely sounds different. And it shocked me when I heard 8. Also, I was like, "Wow!"
This time, now,
8, yes,
yeah.
this. I don't remember. I don't remember from last time. I knew she had died, but that was it.
Right.
But I didn't really think of it as a mental health issue. I did feel differently as if it had been a 2-year death, because to me, this is just his life now. He's on the road. He doesn't have a home. He's, single. You don't know. I mean, you get the sense that he doesn't tell anybody that she's died, and that he still says that he has a wife in like kind of present tense kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it didn't occur to me to feel like it was a mental health issue. It was more sad just because he didn't feel comfortable stopping and feeling again. But I guess that is sort of a mental health situation.
And then, do you think when Neil turns around, so basically he gets off the train,
yes,
jumps on the train going back
yep.
to go see Dell. That this time around, I felt when I was younger, I just completely believed he would do that. Now I'm like, ooh, wow, that's commitment.
I did not believe that Neil would have done that this time around.
See?
And again, I felt like Neil was a jerk to him. The only time he was ever nice to Dell is when he needed something. That's it.
Yeah.
When he needed a ride, when he needed money, when he needed breakfast, when he needed a room. That was the only time he was ever not even nice. I mean, that's dealing with him. Whenever he decided to be with him. That's the only time. It's when he needed stuff. He needed a room. He needed money for breakfast. That was when he came back to Dell. And then as he's eating the breakfast, he's saying, I think we should go our separate ways.
Yeah.
I'm like, seriously?
I felt that scene.
That was rough.
That scene, I didn't remember that well that way when I was younger. And that was like, ooh, it's fucking rude.
Yeah.
It's just rude. However, I want to defend Neil in 2 ways. He does help Dell. So remember, they're on the bus, the train. The train breaks down.
And he's struggling
sees Dell,
with his back.
Yep, and Neil runs up and helps Dell with the trunk. The other thing is when they're in the lodge and there's 2 beds and he's sitting.
Yes, that's when he turned the corner. And yes,
and
after
like,
the
hey,
burned car, that was when he turned the corner for sure.
Yeah, I will say to Steve Martin's acting, I completely bought into him laughing to himself on the train. It felt very authentic. It did feel
nice.
authentic.
Yeah, that was a nice moment, actually.
And needed. But I will say, I know you didn't like the part where he's yelling at Dell about the doll that you pull the string and he keeps talking and talking. I have one thing that I haven't
even looked at my notes.
I know, I just glancing down. One thing I really loved about that scene when he's like, didn't you wonder on the plane? He's like, that I was bored when I started reading the vomit bag. But there's something that's wrong in his little yelling.
Oh yeah.
Dell doesn't tell him a story, and he said, "I'm so sick of all your stories." Christina, I kept remembering, he didn't have any stories.
No, but you know what? We didn't see the whole flight, so
True.
I agree. We didn't hear any stories yet.
Yeah.
But they've spent a lot of time together,
They did,
so he doesn't seem like the type of guy that lets silences pass. Probably because he doesn't want to deal with his own thoughts.
See? More mental illness.
Right?
Yeah.
But yes, I just felt like he went on and on and Neil went on and on and on and on. Just too much.
Yeah.
It was like 5 minutes of just bashing him. And poor Del was just standing there like, look, you can feel the way you want, but I like me. My wife likes me. Sad.
Yeah.
My customers like me.
Yeah.
And this is your problem.
That's right.
You know, he's just, again, annoying, but also very positive. He always has a smile on his face. He's a kind person.
Yeah.
He's the type of person that would just be like, hey, let me give you what I have.
Yeah.
And Neil is just basically screaming at him because he's annoying. And it's like screaming at him because of the way his personality is.
Yeah.
And that's rough. I don't like that. I think that was over the top mean.
Yeah.
I felt really bad for him.
I think it was designed for laughs. I did laugh a couple times in Neil freaking out because it was so pent up that. But I found again the diner scene to be crueler.
The diner scene, because it was a lot more real.
Yeah.
Right? It was a little more real, and Del was more invested in him. I think. You could see that Del was really hurt that time. Mm-hmm. Whereas before, they didn't really know each other, and Del was just like, this is on you. Like, you know, whatever, I don't care kind of thing. Whereas in the diner, he definitely cared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, he didn't even finish eating.
No, he's
like,
I
noticed that. I was like, oh my gosh, there's like 10 of
Yeah, he left right then and there.
Really quick, I loved the old guy on the plane, on the other side of Steve Martin's character. Is this, he is from, I think, a Golden Girls episode or two. Oh. But all he does is he's kind of like glancing over as Del's taking his socks off on the plane. But then when he's sleeping, he doesn't even have a line. It's just like he just makes this noise. It's like the old man is resting on one shoulder of Neil, because Neil's in the middle seat, and Del's leaning on the other. And the old man, at one point, like, Neil's just like trying not to lose it, and suddenly the old man just goes like breathing. Oh my god, I laughed.
That is funny. I loved I loved thinking about this movie in like a modern day thought process, and how none of this would have happened in today.
Yeah.
Because of ATMs,
phones,
cell phones. It really shocked me how little he communicated with his wife. Did that surprise you? He only called her like twice over a period of a couple of days. He tried another time, but the phone was locked.
Right.
That sort of thing. But he only called her a couple of times. And I thought, in this day and age, we're so used to calling everybody at every step of the way, right?
Every step of the way. Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows exactly where you are at every moment. And I thought that was kind of cool to think about that. Back then, he could go an entire day traveling without even chatting or checking in with his wife. Mm-hmm. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that was pretty realistic for that time frame, too.
I think so. And I think, again, like going back to what his life is like, with like the traveling back and forth to New York, and she's, you get a sense that they're just sort of used to this way of life.
The way it is.
Yeah.
Emily said something funny when they, when he thought he got robbed. When they got robbed and he thought it was Del.
Yeah.
And he said, I had $700 in this wallet, and now it's not, or whatever. And Emily turns to me and she goes, who carries $700 in their wallet? And I said, well, back then you did. Yeah. Back then, I mean, I don't know about $700, but if you were traveling...
you would have $250 in the wallet.
You wouldn't have... You don't have an ATM.
Right.
To, to get money whenever you wanted to. I said, there was no ATMs. You had credit cards and you had cash. Mm-hmm. And a checkbook probably, too, but...
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of interesting. It didn't even occur to me.
That's so funny. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I mean, I think before then I was just too young to have any real cash on me. But I do remember walking around with your wallet, like, filled with cash.
Oh, yeah. Especially
in your
traveling.
front pocket. Yeah, because you don't know in your back pocket.
And, yeah, of course, they had the traveler's checks. I never bothered with traveler's checks.
No.
I never did that. So I thought that was an interesting observation on Emily's part.
Do we need a little break?
Yeah, you know what? I have all of these like little scratches of notes everywhere. Let's take a break so I can figure out what these all mean.
We'll be right back.
Hey there, it's Brian and Christina. We just wanted to take this break to thank you for listening to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pulp culture through a middle-aged lens. Please subscribe to Old Roommates on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And give us a rating or review while you're there.
And if you have any questions, comments, or observations, shoot us an email at oldroommatespod@gmail.com. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Old Roommates. Thanks for listening, and now, back to the show. And we're back talking about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, 1987 hit from John Hughes. He wrote and directed and I think produced.
He used to do everything.
He really did. And really quick, just to give you an idea of when this landed in terms of his filmography. Right before this, 1987, Some Kind of Wonderful, which he produced and helped write, John Hughes. Then Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Then She's Having a Baby. Right before Some Kind of Wonderful was Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Right before Ferris Bueller's Day Off was Pretty in Pink. So in Pretty in Pink, Ferris Bueller, Some Kind of Wonderful, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and She's Having a Baby.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a busy guy.
I mean, really, they're all within, like, I mean, some of them were, like, two in a year. Like, so...
Yeah, I thought it was really funny how many of the Ferris Bueller's Day Off characters are in... Yeah. Not characters, but actors.
Actors, yeah.
Were in the movie, and I appreciated that.
So, let's do some final thoughts. I know you had a lot of notes, Christina.
So, I do have a lot of notes. And one thing I wanted to mention, too, Joey Lawrence. How cute is he?
Oh, I know.
Right? A little baby, kind of, 7 years old, maybe?
If that.
If that. So adorable. And Michael McKean making a little cameo.
That's right.
Right?
Yep.
A lot of really fun cameos in here. I wanted to talk about how disgustingly gross.
Oh my god, yeah. Yep, the son of the guy. I don't remember his name.
I'm not even going to say that, but that's hilarious that you thought you knew my mind.
Oh, disgustingly gross. Okay, good.
That shower scene was of his. You know what? I'm realizing why I like this movie. And I will tell you, I liked the movie better now.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. I know, right?
Yeah.
I think it's because John Hughes does a great job of really making situations that are outrageous, but also so relatable in that you can feel like just how those characters are feeling with different situations. And the one that pops into mind that I was just about to talk about is that first shout scene. So it's that first hotel. They're exhausted. They find out they have the same bed, right? They have to sleep in the same bed. But Steve Martin goes to take a shower. Mm-hmm. He gets out of the shower. Mm-hmm. Oh, first of all, he has soap in his eyes and the water shuts off. And that's awful.
Yeah.
Then he opens the shower curtain and it's been trash. Like, it is so gross. Shit's everywhere, all over the counters. Mm-hmm. There's no towel. Yeah. All that's left is one little itty-bitty face cloth that he has to dry his whole body on. And he does a good job trying to do that, which I was laughing about that. And then he steps out of the shower and the floor is soaked. And he steps on like this wet towel. I mean, come on. I was like, that is so disgusting. Yeah. But it was so effective. I felt like it was so, I mean, over the top, of course. Like, the whole movie. Every scene's over the top. But it was also, I could totally relate to how gross and how awful he felt with that stuff. So funny. And I will say, the car ride fight. So I feel like, okay, so they've fought, all this, mostly Neil yelling at him and leaving him and making Del feel bad and all that. Then it's the rental car situation. He doesn't have a car. He says the F-bombs. Then he insults the other guy trying to get another rental car, and he gets punched. And Dale almost runs him over. Right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And saves the day, and now he's in the car.
Yeah.
I feel like that moment, not necessarily that particular moment, but when they're in the car together, they're still fighting, but I feel like it was a turning point in their relationship. Because now you're seeing not necessarily Neil beating up on Dell, but it's really like a bickering friendship. Like, I could see you and I kind of getting into like that sort of like, oh, gross, you do this. Like if you're getting on each other's nerves or whatever. Well, you grab your crotch all the time. That sort of thing. I really appreciated the fact that Dell was sticking up for himself and kind of like, it was more of a back and forth thing and more of a relationship as opposed to Neil just being mean to Dell. And I felt like that was a change in that. And that actually is right before the scene of the hotel where they're mad at each other, right? But Steve Martin does eventually invite him into the hotel room.
Right.
And I feel like that scene in the car is really what kind of changed that relationship. I just wanted to throw that out there. Thoughts?
Well, no, I did like how, I mean, maybe when I'm like a line too long, but when Steve Martin gets punched by the guy, like you just said, and he gets picked up by his balls. And they actually alter the voice.
Yes, I thought that was cute because it was a little ways. I mean, it was an entirely new scene, and you could have totally forgotten about it, and you could have. It didn't have to happen, but yeah, he had that altered voice.
So let's talk about the bed, the infamous bed scene, which I loved then, I love now. At the same time, being middle-aged, I'm like, I would have slept on the floor, and honestly, like, I mean, just because that was not a queen-size bed.
No, that was like...
That was a twin.
A
full bed. So, just for the sake of, like, whoever got the room, I don't remember. If that was a true situation, we're like, oh, God, Dell, just have the bed. I'm going to sleep on the floor. I will be fine. I will take the cushions off those two side chairs.
Yep.
Or I'll prop myself up on the side chairs and sleep that way. It's one night.
And
half the night seemed like it was already gone. So it's like, but I get it. But I just, as awesome as that scene is, through my, middle-aged lens, I would say that is not something that most people would have chosen to do. If he's disgusting, then you wouldn't be sharing a bed with him.
Right.
Not even a big. It's not even a queen size bed.
And John Candy is a big person.
Right.
It's not even like you're talking about two average sized men.
That's right.
He took up half the bed anyway. And I get, yes, of course, that's why they did the scene. The other thing that I thought was kind of interesting is I would never, like, as a middle-aged woman, I'm a lighter sleeper. And if someone's like rolling over to hug me, I would have noticed that.
Yeah.
And somebody kissing my ear. I mean, it was funny. And I liked that he didn't.
It was a funny.
I liked how he didn't, like, the way his reaction was, like, Dell, why did you just kiss my ear? He's like, I don't know. And they just have like this like kind of calm.
Why are you holding my hand? It's like,
where's your other hand?
Yeah.
So I
did laugh, and also I left the pillow, how the sponge pillow that wouldn't stay.
Sure, yeah.
It's very minor, but it's funny.
Yeah.
My only
go ahead.
My only other note is I found myself doing something very weird. Is that the scene where they go to the inn and they have nothing. They have nothing. So Steve Martin gives him this watch and $17.
Burned up credit cards.
But I'm telling you, I don't know what happened to me. I recited what Dell said. I have $2 and a Casio watch. But I said it out loud with him. And I was like, of all the dialogue, all these scenes,
gosh.
I don't know why. I found that line reading of John Candy. John Candy, we haven't really mentioned him too much, but like, so funny. Oh my God, what a lovable, funny, his little giggle. He giggles like in every scene. He is. How sad that he's not with us anymore.
So sad.
But I mean, I really, this movie made me miss him.
100%. And same with, like, when we watched Uncle Buck.
Yeah.
So I've always had, like, a nice remembrance of John Candy. Never had a problem. But I never remembered him as being as good as he was.
Yeah.
And when I watched Uncle Buck, and the same with this movie here, I felt the same way. I don't feel like there's very, very few people in the world who could have played that part with the same amount of obnoxiousness and heart. And you like him. Yeah. You really like him. And he was just a wonderful, wonderful actor. And I have such a deeper appreciation for him now after revisiting these two movies. Really, really great. Really great actor. An actor that just acts from his heart.
Yeah.
He puts it all in, and you believe that he is this character.
It's never
real.
one. Yeah, it's never one note. It's never a caricature. It's like even with Uncle Buck, we talked about that. Like, there's a lot more going on, and he just does it. He does it so well.
He really, really does. My only other note I have about the movie is when the car bursts into flames. So they had already gone through. Yeah, he threw the cigarette, which caused the fire or whatever. But you don't even know it's on fire yet. So they go through the accident. They go through the two 18-wheelers, right? Hilarious.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Well, just the setup, really quick, the setup to that is also funny.
Yes.
When they start making fun of the people. So they're driving, basically
It's so good.
Dell is trying to take off his coat, even that was funny. Dell's trying to take off his coat and he gets stuck, and his car swerves out of control and spins him around. So when he starts driving again, he doesn't realize he's driving up an off-ramp onto the wrong way of a major highway. And this couple that's driving the right way is driving alongside of them over the, what do you call it? Guardrail. Guardrail.
Yeah.
And they're yelling at him. They're like, "You're going in the wrong direction."
No, they stop him. You're going the wrong way. You're going the wrong way. And they're like, what is he trying to say? And it's long. Steve
Martin's like, he says you're going the wrong way. He's like, "Ah, come on. How does he know where we're going?"
And even Steve Martin's like, yeah, you're right. Okay, thanks. Thank you. Going the wrong way. And he waves.
John Candy's doing like the glug glug.
He does like the fake drinking.
They're drunk.
Oh my gosh.
And then the other couple's like, "You're going in the wrong direction." And then finally they're like, "You're going to kill somebody."
It was such a great setup. Funny. All those scenes, starting from the jacket getting stuck, all the way up through, was great. And then, of course, they squeeze through the two 18-wheelers, and they rip the sides of the car, and they're all, like, they fling around, the trunk goes flying, they grab the trunk, it's just insanity, right? This whole thing, and they're all, so now they're sitting on the trunk, and they're just like, oh my, like, what just happened, right? And then they hear like this, and they're like, what is that? And they turn around and they see the car on fire. And they basically look at the car, and then they turn back around and just like look at each other. Like no reaction at all, because they've already been through so much. It's like, of course the car is going to blow up or whatever, catch on fire. I loved that so much. I loved the no reaction part after everything that they had just gone through.
I love how they turn into skeletons and like the little dream sequence or the little
he turns into a devil. Oh my gosh, it was great. That was a really good scene. That might have been a better scene for me than the fuck scene.
Little trivia. This was John Candy's personal favorite film, and Steve Martin's personal favorite film.
Interesting. Well, there's so much to it.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Made for $30 million. This surprised me. It was made for $30 million, and it made $50 million. I would have guessed this made over $100 million.
I would think so, too.
I thought it was a huge hit. And maybe that is a huge hit.
I think maybe it's more of a rental, right? A rental hit? Maybe it wasn't such like a box office hit.
But so good.
And could be somewhat seasonal too. I wonder if it's one of those movies that people think of more around the holidays.
Yeah, true.
Like we did.
True.
Did you like it better or worse this time around? Because I know you liked it a lot.
Okay, I think maybe I liked it a little better, or the same, a little better. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
I will say that, talk about like the economy of a story. Like, this movie is like 89 minutes. Like, it's 92 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's with all the credits, that little final surprise at the end that everyone should check out. But there's a lot of like little flashbacks in this. There's a lot of like I would say wasted time. There's a lot of time where nothing's really happening. And so this is, so they pack so much into just this little, there's so much comedy and action and even like the drama of Dell's wife, and it's just very, very well done.
It is well done. And I felt like the time, I always have this problem with, the actual time.
Yeah, that they're together.
And if it's a realistic time frame and if all the stuff could happen. I thought that was pretty realistic.
Yeah.
In terms of the time frames go. The way that time frame.
A big negative?
Time frames
go. As time frames go.
I don't know.
The big negative is just, and it was not even that great to begin with in 87 for me. The music was just bad. And at one point they're trying to...
I agree. I disagree with that.
I like the ending song. I like Every Time You Go Away. Mm-hmm. But I don't like they tried to make some of the dialogue into a rap song at the end. And
I don't remember.
Oh, it was like Dell, it was Neil saying like, "This is ridiculous. I can't believe this." And but they're like doing like the zit 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 with the record. He did the same thing with Ferris Bueller. It's like there's like this like weird
oh my god, I don't know why I have absolutely no recollection
very,
of
very,
this.
very,
so
very 80s. And to me it was really bad when they put dialogue you had heard in the movie into they did it during the movie. It was weird.
Oh, that is weird.
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all. That's so strange. I don't remember that. I liked the music, specifically in the scenes like the shower scene, the gross shower scene.
Okay.
I liked that. I liked the music that they had when they first walked into the hotel room and they saw the beds.
I like that too.
Like, yes. I liked the background music. I felt like it conveyed the emotion pretty well. Mm-hmm. But I did like that. And of course the ending song is so good. And it was hilarious because as soon as the music played, it's like, John Hughes. And Matt actually was walking through the end.
Yeah.
I guess he walked through the beginning with Kevin Bacon and then walked to the end with that final scene. And he said that John Hughes picks all of his music.
Yeah.
In all of his movies. And I said, yeah, you can tell.
You can tell. They all have
very
that
similar
thing. And even like Some Kind of Wonderful, there's that cover of I Can't Help Falling in Love with You.
Yes.
And like a song that I think most people equate to Elvis Presley, and it's a female singer. And then you have Every Time You Go Away, which is who's the male singer? Young.
Neil Young.
No.
Paul Young.
Paul Young. Yes, I think.
No.
Wait.
Young.
Wait. No, it's certainly not Neil. I know it's not Neil
Paul.
Young.
I don't.
Wait a second.
Oh my god, we're looking it up, people.
Every Time You Go Away.
Why don't you look it up while we're looking it up?
Do you want to ask me a question?
Hold on. Yes. You look that up. All right. So my question, it's gonna Paul Young.
Yeah.
I said Paul Young. Oh, you know what I was thinking?
Neil Young.
Oh my god, no, I said Neil Young and I said Paul Young. I'm like, no, not Paul Young. When I said Paul Young, you know what I was thinking of?
What?
Paul Williams. Do you remember him?
No. Oh, yeah, I do.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not Paul Young. I was thinking Paul Williams.
Yeah, Paul Young.
Yes, okay. All right, fine, whatever. Excuse me. All right, my question to you is, so if we were going to recast this movie with female leads, who would you cast?
Okay, so you mentioned, and I think, I hate to say this, but it's not an insult at all, but I think Dell's size does play a role.
Oh, for sure.
So, I mean, the
Definitely.
go-to, I think, with pop culture, where we are now, tends to be Melissa McCarthy, even though she's lost quite some weight. Mm-hmm. But I think you could also get away with, although Amy Schumer, I mean, by the way, this is Hollywood's view of overweight.
Oh,
do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
I mean, I don't find either of these women overweight.
I mean, honestly, I could probably play the role in Hollywood's view.
But it's like, so I don't, listen, I don't find either of these women unattractive or overweight, but I would say like Amy Schumer would be great because she's kind of that messy character actress.
I'm not sure she has the same charm.
Oh, well then you'd have Melissa McCarthy, who does have a lot of charm,
definitely has that charm,
and like this and that sort of potential messiness. But then you have the Steve Martin, the Neil character, who I think would be, oh my god, like Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh my god.
Or Anne Hathaway. I think Gwyneth. Why not? Like an uppity, disgusted, grossed out businesswoman.
You know, and you know who else kind of jumps to mind, and I think she could do a pretty good job is Emily Blunt. I feel like she would be a good straight person because remember her in The Devil Wears Prada?
Yeah.
I could see her playing that similar character.
Yeah. And
she did a good job with that comedy in that movie as well, kind of that physical comedy.
Yeah.
Not quite as over the top.
That would be good. I mean, maybe even Cate Blanchett would be interesting in a comedy. Like a comedy like that, where she hasn't... I don't think Cate Blanchett has had too many comedic opportunities, but that could be interesting.
Yeah.
But, but to your point, the first thing, they would have to start off by, like, with their phones smashing to bits. Like, you wouldn't be able to have, like...
Well, yes. We would maybe have to make it
stolen.
But maybe make it in the 80s. You know what I mean? Like
a true remake with a story.
Yeah, like it's in the 80s,
yeah.
So you don't have those accesses of that sort of thing. You could, do it differently. But yes, you're right. You have to smash the phones.
So after I watched this, I did write down this question, but I already know your answer, so I'm going to change the question.
Oh.
Yeah, because it was going to be who would you rather travel with? And I think you'd rather travel with Dell. Because...
I think so. I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, and so we can make that our Facebook question. But then, so I have an FMK, a fuck, marry, kill.
Okay.
So, Neil, Dell, Kevin Bacon.
Oh, that's a nice little...
Yeah. Well, it's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, thank you. Giving thanks. Let's see. Oh, geez. It's hard. It's actually kind of hard. Who would I kill? And we're talking about the characters, right?
Yeah.
Who would I marry? Who would I...
Oh my god, I thought of this in like 2 seconds for
So, alright, I guess I would marry... Well, I mean, I would say, I think initially I would have said Dell. I would marry Dell, but now that I know he has all these mental health issues, I'm not sure I want to do that. I would like to marry Neil, but he's probably traveling a lot. Yeah. Although he does seem like his family loves him, and his wife loves him, and he provides. I guess I would marry Neil.
God.
Is that wrong? Not wrong. I mean, obviously it's not wrong.
Keep going.
Do you see how I said that? Was that wrong? Of course it's not wrong. It's my answer.
That's right.
I'm right. And then I would probably have to kill Dell. But that would be okay because he could be with his wife. And then I would F Kevin Bacon.
Oh my
Although
God.
what's funny is I'm not a huge... I never found Kevin Bacon to be all that attractive. Did you?
Same.
Yeah.
I said when we watched Friday the 13th, I could not get over how, like, his body is so, like, just healthy and fit in, like, California. But no, to be, like, in terms of, like, actually, like, physically attractive
I don't think he's very attractive.
No.
I don't, like, his look. I don't think his
face...
He's
not unattractive. I just don't find him attractive.
I find he's average.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think he has average looks.
Okay.
Something about... What is it that bothers me? His nose, maybe? Something bothers me about him.
I mean, he's cute. I mean, he's, like, cute and footloose at times.
Yeah, he's cute-ish. Just not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow. And with that, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving,
everybody. And I know it's a new world right now, and you might not be able to spend time with your family, but, watch a movie. Watch a movie that brings you comfort. That's our advice. And that is it for us, and for this episode of Old Roommates. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to Old Roommates on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And give us a rating or review while you're there, please.
If you have an idea for the show or a suggestion or comment, you can email us at oldroommatespod@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Old Roommates. This is Christina.
And this is Brian.
Thanks again for listening. Until next time.